Start with the latest in the Browns coaching search. It's brought to you by FanDuel. Fridays already feel different during basketball season, and FanDuel is making them feel even better every Friday night before the games tip off. FanDuel gives fans a new way to kick off the weekend with NBA Happy Hour. NBA Happy Hour is your official pregame, a limited time window where special offers drop right inside the FanDuel app before the action starts. So before tip-off, check the FanDuel app and see what's dropping during NBA Happy Hour every Friday from 6 to 7:30 Eastern Time. A little basketball, a little action, a whole lot of energy. That's NBA Happy Hour only on FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NBA. All right, guys. I didn't send out the actual topic for the Browns coaching search until basically this morning because we were waiting to see if there was any new news. As of 11:06 a.m. on January 8th, the Browns have still requested permission to interview 3 candidates plus the 2 that they already have in-house.
So it's only 5. We haven't heard any other names.
We know Jim Schwartz and Tommy Rees are interviewing today.
Yeah.
And as I was talking to you and G this morning, Tyvis was walking behind me, and I said, hey, how we're going to phrase this topic is both Tommy Rees and Jim Schwartz have been on Kevin Stefanski's staff for the last 2 years. In the last 2 years, the Browns
Schwartz
have won
3 years.
I'm just saying in collection, those two each of the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Schwartz was obviously with them in 2023 as well. They won 8 games over the last 2 years. Would promoting one of those two to the head coaching position fix the Browns' issues? And as I was looking at you, Bull, Tyvis was walking behind me and said, and I quote, "Oh, hell no." So, Tyvis,
so you go first.
you
Tyvis.
can start. You say no, promoting one of these two would not be a good decision for Cleveland.
The truth of the matter is it's probably going to end up being that way, but I don't think it's the right decision because they're part of a losing regime. I mean, they just lost the last 3 years, or 2 years, excuse me. I just don't think that it's the right thing. You fired the guy, but you're going to hire a guy that was his understudy. Like, that doesn't make sense to me. I think the point of firing the guy is because you need a whole new voice in the room. So why would you just promote a guy that was part of the losing staff? I just don't think that's the right move.
You talk about specific.
Both of them.
Oh, that's wild work. Nah, we can't do that. That's wild. Here's why.
So you don't want either of them either?
No.
Okay.
I'm saying
He'll take Jim.
I'll take Jim Schwartz. Tommy Rees, I just think isn't experienced enough. I think given this job and given what the Browns need to do and the track record and the progress they need to make in 2 years, I don't believe that Tommy Rees this early as a play caller in his career is a person that they should bank on at this point.
But you like Schwartz.
Now, Schwartz, here's the difference. Here's the reason why I give Schwartz a completely different thing to him. Because Schwartz was basically the head coach of the defense. He had nothing to do with the offensive play calling. He had nothing to do with offense. And the issues with the Cleveland Browns were offensively based. So for me, I look at Jim Schwartz. I look at it where, you talk to the people in the locker room, they say they like him. They say they mess with Jim Schwartz. They say that, he has a good vibe around the league. He was respected. So to me, I wouldn't have no problem with Jim Schwartz. As a matter of fact, as I look at this list, if you wanted to tell me which person do you have the most faith in, it would probably be Jim Schwartz out of the rest of these guys coming in from the outside.
I just said the exact same thing this morning. Of the 5 names on the list, Jim Schwartz would be my top choice. That doesn't mean he is the best choice because the other 3 guys, or the 3 guys that weren't here, they've never been head coaches. We don't know what they would be at head coaches, especially Dirty and Pincher, because I feel like those guys. I've only heard of Pincher because I'm a Bengals fan. Otherwise, I would have never heard of him.
Pitcher?
A pitcher, yeah.
Pitcher,
now
okay,
I'm changing
you
his
had
name.
me. You had me worried that
You're right. I corrected you yesterday, and then you had to correct me today. Good job out of you. But Pitcher and Dirty, like these guys are basically unknown. They're not unknown. The interesting thing about those two guys, they both have some experience in front offices as well as coaching.
You're talking about Pitcher and Dirty?
Pitcher and Dirty,
Okay.
yeah. Also, neither one of them has ever called plays.
Yeah.
And what I believe, that can't be the whole. If that's the whole list, we got a problem. Because I don't like that list.
Well,
Schwartz is my top choice of that list, but I don't like it. But I don't believe that's the whole list. But I'll say this. I think, correct, and we'll see if I end up being wrong, but I believe Dirty and Pitcher especially are being interviewed secretly as potential coordinators. Because if they end up hiring a defensive coach, maybe they bring in Pitcher as their OC. And if they hire an offensive coach, maybe they bring in Dirty as their OC, and both guys would probably be willing to move because I assume they'd get to call plays if it was the opposite. Well, they would definitely.
So I understand that. My question is, I thought if you get don't the head coach choose who he wants as his OC in DC? So
it might just be.
So my question is, let's say,
or at least he should get that. I don't know if it's definitely going to work.
So that's what I'm about to say. So let's say that I'm not somebody on that list. Let's say I'm Mike McDaniel. Say you want Mike McDaniel as your head coach who just got fired.
Yes.
He comes in and he wants the job, but they say, you know what? We're going to give you the head coaching job, but we got your OC in DC picked out.
You can't do that.
So why would we? To me, I don't understand why we talking about we're bringing these guys because somebody else said that exact same thing. Like, they're probably bringing them in to talk to them about being a coordinator.
It might be a situation where they recommend these guys.
I'm just like, if I was a head coach, I'm picking my own coordinator.
You're right.
I'm not about to.
I agree with
you. That would not. I wouldn't want the job. However, given the fact that where the Browns is, they definitely going to take somebody off of that list as a head coach because I just think all the other names, it doesn't make sense. And even if I was a young guy.
You think one of these guys is definitely the next coach?
Yeah.
I don't like that.
You know why?
Yeah.
Because I feel like this. So if you're a coach, if you get a head coaching job, you're guaranteed about 2 years. Unless you're just really bad, you get one.
Yeah.
One of the years, which is next year, you're going to be bad. 1,000%.
That's right.
So you're already behind the 8 ball. Yeah. Now let's talk about if you're one of those coaches.
Wait, hold on 1 second. I want to stop you because I think you, Mr. Positivity, you who always thinks the Browns are going to end up being better than they are, thinks they have no chance to win already next year?
I got to see what they do.
Okay, I mean, you just said they have no chance to win.
Them 10 wins hurt his heart. You know, he had them, this year he had them for 8-9 wins. That hurt his heart.
Do you agree with him that there's no way they're going to win next year?
She's been talking about this thing going to be a rebuild for 2 years.
He believes in Shedeur Sanders more than the rest of us. And so if you believe that much in Shedeur and they get it right with some offensive line and wide receiver picks, couldn't they turn it around faster?
So I told you, this is why people be acting like the Duke and knee jerk. I'll be really consistent.
All right.
I'll be just sitting there telling you. I said, listen, y'all got to at least win 7. At least
next year.
I mean, you got to be. You fired a coach who won 8 games in 2 years. So so next year, if you don't win at least 6 or 7,
you got to have 7. You got to.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know. Guy's in his first year. I mean,
so that's my point. So let's say they went out and got Robert Saleh or Cliff Kingsbury, who's probably got one more head coaching tenure.
Yeah.
They go out there. Potentially.
Kingsbury might get another.
Whatever. Let's just say that let's say that this is their last opportunity as a head coach. If they stink next year, now you banking on the year after that.
Right.
And if you don't get it, you're out of the door. And then you'll probably never see another head coaching job again.
And you got no surefire thing at quarterback right now.
That's what I'm saying. I think it's definitely going to be somebody off that list.
That's terrible.
For me. Because if I'm John Harbaugh, Brian Flores, the Browns to me is the least attractive job out of all the 8.
With the Harbaugh situation, at least, he's the one guy of all that he don't have to worry about this 2-year thing. He can get fired after 2 years.
Probably.
The only way the Browns could get Harbaugh if they make him a Godfather offer.
Yeah, it'd have to be like 10 years, 20 million a year.
He's 10
years, 200 million.
Even that might not do it.
Where he is in his trajectory, it just don't. The timeline don't add up. Where he at is with his trajectory.
Yeah.
Like you've been winning. You was at the pinnacle. You probably really thought you was close to winning the championship.
Yeah.
And now you want to come back all the way back to the primary spots.
The only way he do it is if the Browns offered him ridiculous money, and like he's probably confident in himself. He'd be like, I'll turn that around in 2-3 years.
But he may feel that there's better places with easier.
Well, there are better places, but if the Browns make him like a crazy fun money offer,
this place, we'll get to whether or not it's the most toxic in the world. Make sure y'all check that out. Yeah. But this is a very difficult place to win. In general, this is a very difficult place to win in any sport, football, basketball, baseball. The expectation levels we never see eye to eye. We have a lot of different things in terms of different personalities in our ownership groups. So Cleveland is not a place for the weak of mind or the faint of heart. If you ain't really ready to roll
what city is for the weak of like Miami?
But
there's not many.
I mean, but our reputation precedes it. So
we don't have we have no reputation nationally.
No, it's the worst. It's the worst nationally.
Not media wise.
I'm saying, but people feel like Cleveland. If you say I'm the coach of the Browns, they feel like, oh, that's the worst job.
I mean, I can tell you as someone who's not from here and moved here 2 years ago, or like in 2022.
Yeah.
I'd never stepped in Ohio once in my life. I was like, Cleveland? Like, I had heard nothing good about Cleveland. Now I got here, it is completely.
But had you heard anything bad?
Yeah, you hear it, and I'm actually agreeing with you. And all the
I'm talking about. I thought you brought up the media coverage.
No. I said we teased that for later on.
But the
perception
it could not be more wrong.
You mean the perception of the city?
The perception of the city.
Yeah, and the Browns.
And the Browns and our teams.
The perception of the Browns is accurate.
Right.
The perception of the city is wrong.
Right. But
yes, but that is there.
But for those individuals who don't know about the city or only see it here passing, you're just like Cleveland.
It's thought of as a negative. Cleveland, the city, is thought of as a negative by people that haven't spent any time here.
And they could not be more wrong.
Yeah. And they could not be more wrong.
Me and you both are living proof of this. Is people not from here moved here, fallen in love with the city, and made it home.
I
couldn't be more wrong.
But to G's initial point, Cleveland, from outside perspective, does not have a good reputation.
But the truth is,
but just as a city.
But the truth is that a lot of the people that have that negative feeling are people like in New York and Boston and Philly and then on maybe LA, San Francisco.
Right.
But those people think everywhere in the Midwest sucks.
Also true.
They don't think Pittsburgh's great. They don't want to live in Detroit. You know, like maybe Chicago, maybe, but that's about it.
So for me, and like I said, we talked about ranking the jobs. There's somebody that's going to take the job, and you want somebody. I want somebody that's excited about taking the job. So I want somebody that's excited about what we're going to get into. I want somebody that's going to roll their sleeves up. And I get people say this is not a good job or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
But life is about fits. I want a person that fit what I'm trying to do. If I feel like I got a good fit with that person and he don't really have the biggest cachet, but I know that person believes in what we're trying to do and build, that's the person I want.
Yeah, and you know what? The truth is, the more I think about it, as great a coach as Harbaugh is, if the only way you're going to get him here is if you pay him some ridiculous amount of money, you probably shouldn't do it.
Didn't you guys have? Didn't we all have a problem with this, right? The problem that we had, a lot of people, was when we went after Deshaun Watson.
Right, he didn't want to be
Deshaun
here.
Watson said, "No, thank you."
Yeah,
and then they had to go back and say, well, we'll give you this money too.
Did the same thing with Holmgren.
And they did it with Holmgren.
It didn't work.
With Myles Garrett last year.
So I mean, if guys are a little upset or don't like the way that looks or the optics of that or what that says, then we should probably
Now, we don't know that's the case. Maybe for whatever reason, John Harbaugh is interested.
Maybe he wants to come back and rebuild the team.
He has Ohio ties. But if the only way he's going to come is if you make him such a ridiculous offer that he can't, like you feel like he can't say no, then you probably shouldn't do that.
I want people who want to do it.
I also feel like another reason that they're going to take somebody off that list.
I don't like that list.
I don't either, but I just think they're going to. I truly think they're going to, because out of those 5 people on that list, I feel like those are the 5 people you can kind of dictate who they OC and DCs is. Like, we'll give you the job, but
we
you
don't
got.
Want that.
I just feel like that. I just feel like I feel like that's what they tell me they can't. If they took Jim Schwartz, they say, all right, make sure you keep Tommy Rees and get Dirty as your DC. Like, I feel like they could do that.
Well, but if Dirty's not going to call plays, he's not going to leave. Why would he leave Seattle?
Right.
Ty, real quick, you mentioned a minute ago that you thought Cleveland was the least attractive of all the openings, and now there's 8 openings because Miami's opened.
I remember, by the way, I feel like a month ago, there were a lot of people saying, there may not be as many openings as usual this year.
A quarter of the teams.
Yeah.
Ty, why do you think they're dead last on that list? Because I personally disagree.
I just think the talent, and then I think the fact that you $12 million over the cap, so you got to cut people to get back over the cap.
And the reputation of the franchise and owner.
Yeah, I just think it's not a good
So who's last, Mike, if you're saying they're not last?
Because if you go...
I think Arizona is in hell.
So you're saying the Browns are 7th?
I also would... I haven't done enough research on the rest of Miami's roster, but you got 2 for 2 years at 50+ each.
Yep.
Yeah, but you got Deshaun Watson here.
That's easy, but that's expiring. We're gonna let that. We're gonna let that.
What's the difference between Watson and Tua?
2 years and Tua, 1 year of Watson.
Tua has at least been a starter.
And they don't
I
got,
want
and
nothing to do with
they don't got no picks.
They don't got
nothing to
picks.
do
They
with
got a
Tua.
first-round pick.
They have
don't
a first round pick this
But
year.
they ain't got 2 of them.
I mean, Miami job is like they got 2 wide receivers though.
One.
Tyreek Hill.
Tyreek Hill's coming off.
That
Severe-
he's a free agent?
No, he's coming off
severe.
severe. He messed up his whole
Well,
leg.
I mean-
Jalen Waddle's way better than anything the Browns got.
That is correct.
Okay, he
And
got
A-Chain.
They got
Still-
A-Chain, a stud.
But their defense.
By the way,
I
I was watching. I wanted to last night. I got, I was watching all these ridiculous things, and I was watching like this one guy made a video of, or he did his own 2025 redraft. Mm-hmm. Okay, and in it, once he did the redraft, he then played like Madden simulated of the season. Mm-hmm. And in this redraft, Quinshon Judkins ended up on the Steelers, and he finished with 1,600 yards and like 10 touchdowns.
I like to redraft.
Who was the first overall pick?
The first overall pick was
Tyler.
Dart,
Dart.
and then Ward went 2.
So you are saying Quinshon Judkins is elite?
He was the third
elite
wide
Madden.
receiver, second running back taken. But the Browns had 3 players in the first round. Graham went later. They had the Browns taking what's his name? The guy on the Giants, the defensive lineman.
Abdul Carter.
Abdul Carter.
So is Carson Sweatshirt better than Abdul Carter?
Abdul
They
was
played
awesome
different
down the
possessions.
stretch.
I would say no.
I'm just trying to.
But they had Schlesinger in the. They had Schlesinger.